Since launching in 1997, WWE.com has been an important hub of information for WWE, providing wrestling fans with everything from event results, merchandise sales, live event listings, ticket information, and, most notably, articles and news stories. And as you can imagine, over the course of the last 24 years, WWE.com has posted so many articles and news stories, ranging from the ridiculous and shocking to the downright unbelievable. I'm Adam Nicholas, this is What Culture Wrestling, and these are 10 articles and news stories you won't believe from WWE.com. Number 10, announcing the Bullet Club and Shinsuke Nakamura. In January 2016, the Bullet Club were comfortably the biggest stable, not just in New Japan, but in all of professional wrestling. On top of that, Shinsuke Nakamura was New Japan Pro Wrestling's IWGP Intercontinental Champion, set to defend said title on the 4th of January against none other than Bullet Club leader AJ Styles at Wrestle Kingdom 10. So you can imagine then how surprising it was to see an article on WWE.com just one day after New Japan's biggest show of the year, with the headline, "Are AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows coming to WWE?" They reported that the Bullet Club members and Nakamura were in serious negotiations with the company, and as shocking as that news story was, it obviously turned out to be true. Curiously though, they didn't use similar tactics to this when they announced Adam Cole, Ronda Rousey or Sting, but in terms of generating buzz around this particular batch of signings, I think we can all agree this worked. Number 9, Jeff Hardy found unconscious. Jeff Hardy's issues with substance abuse are a detail of his personal life that WWE have frequently used in storylines. The first time WWE chose to use this, however, was back in 2008, right before Survivor Series, when Hardy was set to challenge for the WWE Championship. WWE posted the headline, "Jeff Hardy found unconscious," which obviously left fans shocked and concerned about Hardy's well-being. The article said that Hardy had been found unconscious in the stairwell in the hotel he was staying at in Boston, and he'd been rushed off to an emergency room. Now ultimately it would be revealed that this was all part of a storyline and that Hardy had apparently been attacked as part of said storyline, but WWE weren't clear about this, and given the fact that Hardy had already failed 2 wellness policy tests at the time, this obviously had fans worried. WWE were heavily criticised for their ambiguity regarding this story, and given the fact that Eddie Guerrero had actually passed away and been found in very similar circumstances to this just 3 years prior, was all in pretty bad taste, I think we can agree, and it's easy to see why Wrestling Observer newsletter voted this most disgusting promotional tactic for 2008. Number 8, Brock Lesnar arrives at WWE headquarters. In 2004, Brock Lesnar left the WWE unceremoniously and went to pursue a career in the NFL. That, of course, didn't quite work out perhaps how Brock had imagined, which left him wondering what to do next. When he left in 2004 to get out of that contract at the time, WWE had made him sign a non-compete clause, which meant he couldn't wrestle for another promotion until at least about 2010. With one eye on trying to take his business to New Japan Pro Wrestling, Brock Lesnar filed a lawsuit against WWE in order to try and negate that non-compete clause, but of course WWE weren't having this, and this became a bit of a messy situation. WWE didn't want to lose Lesnar to another wrestling promotion, so they invited him over to WWE HQ to see if they could maybe hash out a deal that would be best for both parties. That would result in the shocking news post on WWE.com with the headline, "Brock Lesnar arrives at WWE headquarters." Now, as you can imagine, this got WWE fans very excited indeed, because we already had John Cena and Batista who were on the rise, but imagine Brock Lesnar coming back to work with both of those guys. This is exciting stuff. But unfortunately, as exciting and shocking as it was to see this, WWE and Lesnar just couldn't come to terms at the time. Lesnar wanted a part-time schedule, whereas WWE wanted him to return full-time, and unfortunately for WWE, it would be 7 years until we'd see Brock Lesnar back on WWE screens. Number 7, the Lunchtime Suicide Series. Unbelievably, WWE.com once posted the Lunchtime Suicide Series, a series of vignettes that, if you were to call them in bad taste, well, I think you would be underselling it quite a bit. Now, this all started at Armageddon 2005, where Josh Matthews interviewed former referee Tim White at his bar, The Friendly Tap. White would claim that the Hell in a Cell match that he refereed at Judgment Day 2002 between Triple H and Chris Jericho, where he suffered a legitimate shoulder injury that would actually retire him, was something that had ruined his life. So the end result of this skit, in the middle of a wrestling pay-per-view no less, was that Tim White, in the skit, shot himself with a shotgun. And despite all the very justified negative reaction from fans and critics alike, WWE decided that this was a form of entertainment that they wanted to pursue, and so they took that and ran with it, where they started a weekly series of Tim White essentially trying more and more elaborate ways to kill himself before eventually, the plot twist I guess to all of this, he didn't kill himself, he just ended up shooting Josh Matthews. Now in hindsight, WWE might look back and say, hey, we were just trying to push the envelope, it was 2005. That just doesn't fly, man, it really doesn't fly. Yes, it might have been some shocking content on WWE.com, yes, it might have got people's attention, but I think it's fair to say this was for all the wrong reasons. Number 6. Jarrett and Vladimir Kozlov. In October 2005, WWE posted the following news story. Longtime wrestling promoter Jarrett met with WWE officials this morning in Stamford, Connecticut, and he was not alone. By Jarrett's side throughout his meetings with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis was a 6'6", 310-pound monster of a man called Oleg Prudius. Now, as you can see from the picture that was posted along with this article, that is Jarrett alongside Oleg Prudius, who would become Vladimir Kozlov in WWE. Jarrett, one of the original founders of Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA to you and I, being seen conversing at WWE headquarters was obviously going to turn a few heads and make people believe that WWE were maybe getting one over on TNA, who at the time were being considered as a legitimate future threat towards world wrestling entertainment. And while yes, this may have been seen as a bit of a power play by WWE to get one over on TNA, this was also a bit of a power play from Jarrett, because he tried to take Oleg over to TNA originally and get him booked across there, but for monetary reasons they couldn't sign off on it, and they didn't have a developmental territory, they didn't have the time to train him up, so it just wasn't the right fit. So with Jerry having been turned down by TNA, one phone call to WWE Director of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis, and well, here we are. Number 5. Mistaking Hiroshi Tanahashi for a fan. When WWE toured Japan back in the noughties for a run of live shows, WWE.com posted a bunch of backstage pictures from the events. Memorable photos were taken of a visiting Hiroshi Tanahashi with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, as well as Ric Flair with Yuji Nagata and Tiger Hattori. One photo in particular that stuck out above the rest, however, was one of Hiroshi Tanahashi posing with Jeff Hardy, which WWE.com had mistakenly and somewhat hilariously labelled as Jeff Hardy branches out with Japanese fan. That so-called fan was of course making a name for himself at the time as one of the best wrestlers in the goddamn world. He would go on to become a record-setting 8-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion over in New Japan too. Not bad for a fan. Now yes, this is either just a clerical error from someone at WWE.com or someone at WWE.com trying to wind up New Japan Pro Wrestling fans at the time. Either way, can you imagine the shock and outrage on the faces of either Michael Sidgwick or Michael Hamflett seeing this on WWE.com, and imagine the disrespect they were feeling towards Hiroshi Tanahashi at the time. I wish I was there for that. Number 4. Hornswoggle caught having sex. When Hornswoggle debuted for WWE in 2006 as the Little Bastard, he quickly got over as the mysterious, aggressive little leprechaun sidekick of Finlay, who would spend his time hiding and popping out from underneath the ring. WWE.com went a step further with the mystery element when it bizarrely posted pictures from an amateur photographer in Wisconsin that showed Hornswoggle in a compromising position with a woman in the backseat of a car. Now, this ridiculous post on WWE.com even included an email from the photographer, apparently, where that photographer had said that last week I was shooting some pictures in a parking lot outside of Green Bay when I was totally overwhelmed by the smell of corned beef and clover coming from a parked car. Now, it would go on to obviously say that they went to check it out. Hornswoggle was in a car having relations with a woman in the car before coming out to try and grab the camera of the photographer and then speeding off in the car. Now, as ridiculous and inexplicably as this had turned up on WWE.com, there was just no follow-up to it whatsoever. No rhyme, no reason, just a WWE writer having a laugh, I guess, at the expense of Hornswoggle. Either that or it was all some kind of weird fever dream. Number 3. Corporal Kirchner isn't dead. Corporal Kirchner made wrestling news in 2006 when it was reported, by WWE.com no less, that he had indeed passed away. They'd even written an obituary and everything. The only problem was, Corporal Kirchner was still alive and well. Now, not only was he alive and well back then in 2006, but to this very day, Corporal Kirchner is still alive and well. So you can imagine a lot of people were quite confused about this post from WWE.com. It read that former WWE superstar Thomas Spear, professionally known as Corporal Kirchner, had passed away of natural causes Sunday in his home in Whitemarsh, MD. Now, the confusion for all of this, certainly on WWE's part anyway, stemmed from the fact that they thought Corporal Kirchner's real name was Thomas Spear, and Thomas Spear had in fact died in Whitemarsh, Maryland, but this was not Corporal Kirchner. This was just a guy who was totally and completely unconnected. And on top of that, Corporal Kirchner's real name is Michael Kirchner. Nevertheless, confusion or no confusion, once WWE figured out the actual truth, and I still don't understand the Thomas Spear connection, they basically took the article down, and that was the end of that. So as shocking as it may have been, Corporal Kirchner is still alive, 63 years old to this day. Hope you're doing well, sir. My word, What a kerfuffle. Number 2, posting TNA results. In the mid-noughties, WWE tried to get ahead of the dirt sheets and make itself a reliable outlet for inside industry news, when it amazingly posted the results of its competitors' events on its own website. WWE.com were experimenting with ways to try and increase the web traffic for the website, so they figured if you just went on somewhere like TNAWrestling.com, copied and pasted the results onto their website, that maybe, just maybe, they'd get some fans coming to them that way. I mean, you could literally go on WWE.com and you'd be seeing headlines like AJ Styles wins a gold medal challenge against Kurt Angle, or Samoa Joe and Kevin Nash beat Team 3D, but the referee reversed the decision to give Team 3D the win, or like Curryman winning a 16-man battle royal. I mean, these were things you were seeing on WWE.com. Now, it is pretty weird looking back in hindsight at all of that, because it's just mad, isn't it? And it obviously didn't work, because I don't think I'm going to be seeing AEW results on WWE.com anytime soon. And number 1, with a bullet, CM Punk's ass. In 2014, 10 months after leaving WWE and keeping complete radio silence during that time, I mean, literally, where on earth was CM Punk? Where did he go? Well, obviously just sit and chill until he felt like lifting the lid on everything and anything to do with WWE, and he did just that on Colt Cabana's The Art of Wrestling podcast. Finally breaking that silence on November 2014, CM Punk released a verbal tirade against WWE, particularly with how the company had treated him at the time, as well as allegations of medical malpractice with regards to a massive lump that Punk had had on his back towards the end of his WWE career. After claiming he'd been forced to work through said back injury, a defamation lawsuit was filed against Punk and Cabana by Dr. Chris Amann of WWE. And essentially, WWE.com posted a video full of zoomed-in close-ups of Punk's ass, essentially, and lower back area, and asked fans to have a look and see what they thought. And this is an article you can actually still go and find on WWE.com that reads, WWE addresses CM Punk allegations, and it's a 3.5-minute video of zoom-ins of CM Punk's ass as they try to decipher, or certainly let fans decipher, whether or not CM Punk is a liar. What? So there you have it then, those are 10 articles and news stories you won't believe from WWE.com. But obviously, WWE.com has been around for a long ass time, and you've probably got a few that either we missed or just didn't make the cut on this list. So let us know about them in the comments down below, as well as your thoughts on this video. Don't forget to like and share. Hit the old subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free. What could possibly go wrong? You can find the original article for this at whatculture.com/WWE. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and follow me on Twitter if that's your thing at It's Adam Nicholas, or if you just want some more videos, there should be some just over here. I've been Adam Nicholas, this has been What Culture Wrestling, and we'll see you for the next one.